Hey everyone, welcome back to part 2 of the Yeti build. In the last video we installed a bash guard, put on 165mm cranks, swapped the Fox 34 for RockShox Yari, and started to work on the shifter before I tapped out because it was past midnight. Today we're going to finish installing the shifter and get the SLX brakes replaced with XTs. But before we do anything else, I need some coffee. Okay, now that I feel human again, let's finish getting this shifter installed. I'm installing a new cable, so it'll need to be trimmed down before being crimped, and then I'll give it a bend just to keep it out of the way. The bike is shifting good, so we can finally move on to the brakes. This is where things start to get complex. There's a safety pin holding the retaining bolt in place. Once that's off, we can unscrew the bolt and the pads will just lift out. It kind of looks like a duck. Okay, back on track. Next, the wheel comes off to keep the oil from getting on the rotor. After that, the brake gets removed from the frame, and then the bolt connecting the hose gets removed. There are impossibly small rubber seals in here, so if you plan on reusing them, make sure they don't get lost. Right now there's a vacuum holding the oil in the hose, but as soon as you crack the seal at the levers, it's all going to come gushing out. That's why I'm putting a Ziploc bag around it to catch all the oil. Now we can remove the hose from the levers. An adjustable wrench is about the worst tool you can use for this, but it's what I had handy. We need to cut off the end of the hose to make sure it can fit through the frame. Before I pull the hose out of the frame, I'm going to put a small slit in it so that way I can tie floss around the hose. This is to help guide the new hose, and has the added benefit of removing tartar buildup inside the frame. With the old line out, we can tie the floss to the new one and slowly thread it through the bike. While doing this, it's very important to take it slow and not pull on the floss too much. The last thing we want is for the floss to... Okay, so now is a good time to open another beer while you think through this problem. When you don't come up with any good ideas, frantically try and get the hose close enough to the exit so you can probe it out. Once you've managed to blindly guide the hose through the bike, go buy a lottery ticket, because that doesn't just happen every day. Now it's time to carefully install those tiny washers to the bolt on the new brakes and thread the bolt on by hand before tightening it. It's important to make sure the seals don't get pinched, otherwise there's going to be a major issue on the trail. The brake housing can now be tacked in place on the frame. It doesn't need to be tight at this point. You'll note that I already removed the pads and installed a bleed block. The lever is slid onto the bar to about where I like them. This is so we can make sure we leave enough hose so the bars can spin 180 degrees without tugging on the cables too much. This is to prevent them getting ripped off in the event of a crash. After cutting the line, we can install the olive and insert. This needle driver from Jaguar makes fitting inserts crazy easy. If you find yourself working with brake hose often, it's totally worth the money to have this around. You can find a link for it below. Before installing the hose, the lever is tightened down so it's level with the ground. This will make sense in a bit. Now the connecting bolt is hand tightened to the lever, and once again I try not to round every edge of the bolt using an adjustable wrench. With the hose installed, we can open up the fill port on the lever and then thread on the reservoir provided in the Shimano bleed kit. After filling a syringe with about 3 to 4 ounces of oil, we can attach the hose to the bleed port and then open the port so we can flush the system with clean oil. You should be able to see the air and dirty oil flowing up through the system and out into the reservoir. With all the new oil in the system, we can close the port and remove the syringe. Now we can pump the brakes a few times to work all the remaining air out of the system. Tapping the brake lever on the line can also help shake loose any remaining bubbles so they can float to the top of the system. This is why we needed the lever level to the ground. Level lever. There you go, say that 5 times fast. Finally, we can remove the reservoir and close the fill port before giving everything a wipe down with 90% alcohol. Moving back down to the rear of the bike, the bleed block is removed from the brake housing. Every bit of oil should be cleaned up. One drop on the pads will ruin them, costing precious beer money. The pads go back in, the bolt tightened, and the pin put back in place. Okay, home stretch. Now all that's left is to center the brakes. This is why we left the bolts loose. Just squeeze the brake lever as hard as you can and it'll clamp down on the rotor. Tighten the bolts and boom, the brakes are centered. After repeating all the steps on the front brake, we're finally done. Now I just need to get things set up the way I like it. Alright, let's go check it out. I am absolutely stoked with how this bike came out. The XT parts were from my old bike. I missed the double shift and wanted the ability to adjust the brake stroke. I also took the Yari from my old bike. I need to get things a little bit more dialed on it, but I'll let you know what I think about it after logging some more miles. I know having 2 bash guards is kinda silly. The MRP is the real workhorse. The race face is just there for cosmetics. I already love the shorter cranks. Clearance wasn't that bad with the stock ones, but I like a little bit more for the chunky climbs down here in Austin. I want to take this chance to thank Michael and the whole crew at Worldwide Cyclery for helping me with questions and getting the right part ordered for my Yari to fit this bike. I'm just some random guy on the internet, but they made me feel like a rock star with their awesome service, so thank you. And of course, thanks to all of you for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and let me know if you want to see more like this in the future. A new trail video will be out soon, so keep an eye out for that. And as always, I'll see you on the trail.